Welcome everyone, and thanks for joining us for our sports banquet. Got all the other coaches here, Coach Dunlop, Coach Bankston, Coach Faber, Coach Zenni. Everybody say what up.
Hey.
Hey. How we doing?
Looks like Coach Zenni had a little hair growing out, hasn't been able to get to the barbershop. What's going on with that?
Quarantine will do this to you, I'm telling you. Wait May 4th.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Scott, yeah, you look the same. Coach Dunlop looks the same. Well, it's really nice to see all of the coaches here. You know, I've been certainly missing having this contact with all of you guys. And then on top of that, just missing being in the gym and being around all the other players. So hopefully this will be a good way to get back in connection with everybody. Even considering this, you know, the issue that we're having now with the coronavirus. So obviously our season kind of ended abruptly. It was nice we were able to end our season, whereas you've seen a lot of other teams, high school, college, NBA, you know, had to be cut off and not able to finish. So I feel fortunate we were able to at least complete the season. But I still feel that it ended abruptly and we weren't able to kind of reflect together on things and even get together as a large group within the award banquet, or even as teams or as coaches. Like I still do want to get together. I guess we'll look forward to May 4th or May 5th and try to line some things up, because I certainly want to get together with people. But I guess I encourage everyone to try to get together virtually and do things like this as much as possible within the next month, and then we can connect more physically as we get closer to May. So speaking about the season and the program, this was the first year for me as a coach and for all of these coaches in the program. First year for everyone. So I have a ton of appreciation for all the coaches here and what we were able to do coming together and you know, give it our best effort on the first year. But more so, like, I want to appreciate the parents and players for being so receptive to first year coaches. It seems like, you know, we just came in and it didn't feel like there were any hitches as far as having all new coaches for the players. It seemed like everyone was really receptive and flexible and kind of adapting with what was thrown at them. And I didn't even really give it much thought, but now in reflection, thinking about that and thinking about my time as a player, if that happened to me, you know, like emotionally, mentally, who the coach is for your team certainly has a lot of weight. And as much as I kind of disagree with the top-down approach and the coach controlling everything, there is still an element to that. And I want to recognize kind of the respect and appreciation we have for the players that went through that and dealt with it effectively. So that was really cool. Good to see. Looking back, I think it kind of prevented us as coaches from doing a lot of planning and strategizing and considering what we were going to do. And that could be seen as a negative in a way, but I saw it as a positive, and it actually just let us jump right in and start playing. And, you know, it was more that offensive mindset than defensive, which I like to try to apply whenever possible, not necessarily on the court, but that too, but things like off the court, where instead of debating a lot of decisions and weighing options and worrying about things, we were able to just jump right in and go. So that felt really refreshing, and I really enjoyed that approach. Coach Zenni, that hair is killing me.
Old school, baby, old school.
Yes, sir.
At I remember back to the meeting where the parents were able to meet the coaches. I think it's called Meet the Coaches Night. And we were in the gymnasium. And I remember saying one word that I wanted the program to kind of think about was opportunity. And I connected it back to when I was actually interviewed for the job. One of the folks interviewing asked me the question, what's one word you want players in the program or parents in the program to feel when they think about you as a coach? And it just came to me immediately. It was opportunity. And so looking back, I really hope that players and parents and you guys as coaches, as I'm seeing you on the screen here, felt that there was certainly opportunity for you as an individual to express yourself. And, you know, the sport of basketball is awesome. I love it. And it's a sport that I feel within you, which you can create and have a lot of autonomy and individualism. And you just have a lot of opportunity to express yourself creatively. Whereas if you think of other sports, they don't necessarily allow that as much. So think about just kind of dribbling down the floor and being able to make decisions for yourself. And so I hope you were able to feel that as coaches, as parents, as players, on the court and off the court, so that you had some of that opportunity to express yourself. I hope we were able to create that. That was really important for me. And I hope we tried to access you from a coaching standpoint, looking at the players and taking input from them. Like I said, I don't really love the top-down approach to this and us as coaches saying, these are the rules and this is how it's going to be. I know that we made efforts to try to include other players, include the captains, include the managers, and include each other to where everyone was able to give input and show their value for the team, because every person certainly brought value to the table. So with that said, the way we're gonna kind of structure this award banquet thing is we will go through the teams. I'm gonna introduce the freshman team first, and then we'll go to JV team, and then we'll end with the varsity. Sorry, I'm just looking over my notes here. The coaches will kind of discuss some general thoughts and feelings from the season, and then we will give out our 4 awards per team. As far as the awards go, each player in the program, freshman, JV, and varsity, they get a certificate that looks like this. Who's this? This is Nate Bankston, actually, right here. So each player gets a certificate. And then as we go up in level, the varsity players, they all get an embroidered letter. Okay, so an embroidered letter right there. This way? Is this right, guys?
Yeah, that'll work.
Okay. And then there are a couple players with second year play on the varsity level. Those players get a pin, and then there's a 4th year player that gets a gold pin. And then the captains for the teams also get a little gold pin. So that's really nice. And then within the 4 awards that each team gives out, and that's going to be a most valuable player, a defensive player, an offensive player, and a coach's award. Within those 4 awards that each team hands out, there's an actual trophy for those 4 awards. I don't have those here, but we will get those to you sometime after May 4th. So I would like to introduce Coach Zenni for the freshman basketball team, and he can talk about his team and his awards. Let me just say a couple things about Coach Zenni before he takes it away. This is Coach Zenni's first year coaching, and I was so impressed with what he brought to the table. His passion and his positivity were just easy to see. That was really cool. And with that, I could tell that he was like never complacent. You know, it was never, not that it was never good enough, but he was never resting on his laurels and saying everything's okay. He was always trying to do the next thing to bring the best to his team, and that matters a ton. So I really appreciated that. There's a little story I remember. Sometimes Coach Zenni wasn't able to stay for some of the varsity games, and this was a home game at CHS. And Coach Zenni wasn't able to stay for the varsity game, and he had all his stuff with him, and we were kind of talking in the corner as our guys were over at mid-court, kind of behind those doors, getting ready to get hyped up for the game. And Coach Zenni said, I got to leave. And then he said, oh, I forgot to tell one of the players something. And I was thinking, oh, it's no big deal. You know, you got to go. And he just immediately ran across the court, didn't say anything else. He just started running across the court to where the team was grouped up so that he could get in that last message to a player. And, you know, as an educator, a teacher, or a coach, those people know that those small things, that effort to just deliver the message that needs to be delivered, that matters a ton. So I wanted to kind of express that story and say that I remembered that stuff, and I appreciate everything that Coach Zenni is bringing to the table here. So, Coach, please take that hair off before you do this presentation.
Oh, come on, man.
And let me pass it over to you.
No, I'm just joking. Yeah, that's not real.
Oh, man.
That's not real.
There he is.
First off, definitely I appreciate the kind words, and I'm more than happy to be part of this program as well. I'm sure any of these coaches here with this today. So definitely let's just start it off. The freshman guys, you guys know how it went. We had a great season overall. We finished 8-6. And I think a great way to segment into this section was how Coach Thorpe was sustaining the opportunity. And I think a lot of ways that we implemented that into our program this year, especially with our freshman group, by far was the Snow Day Challenge. I don't know if many of you guys seen that, but I had my guys give me the best video they could make at home on one of the snow days, and whoever won would be able to start that game. And Dylan won that hands down, even though Henry technically won, but Dylan had by far had the best votes there, and he ended up starting that game, and he sees the opportunity. He actually made a good 3 that game. That was big for him confidence-wise, and I couldn't be more proud of the guys cheering him on when he did get the chance to get that moment. And you know, we battled with a lot of injuries throughout the year, and I think everyone stepped up. Maddie D did a great job. Connor did a great job helping us out when Sean was out. And, you know, just the whole team in general, a lot of bench guys stepped up this year, and I couldn't be more proud with the growth that I've seen within the players. I just couldn't be more proud of you guys. And, you know, one particular moment that I think all of us can kind of remember from this year, even though we didn't walk away victorious, was that Londonderry game. I mean, we were down 16 points with 1:30, and you guys cut it down to about 4 points and almost gave yourself the chance to win the game. And in moments like that, you have to capture, and you have to kind of live in those and take away what you can, because you can build on that. And I think all you guys have a great future ahead of you guys, and I can't wait to see what you guys continue to do with this program. And I hope all you guys come back next year and try out and make the team and continue to become better players and people off the court as well. So let's just go straight into the awards. This was tough for me. This was really tough because, you know, again, we were just so team oriented. And I think that says a lot about our team and how we will go to the next step. So first off, let's start off with the offense award. That's going to go to Z. I think that the big reason why I give that to Z, even though he wasn't our number 1 scorer, he wasn't our number 1 leading rebounder or anything like that, he did so much for our team, getting us structure. Okay, he had so many coach's assists, and if you don't know what a coach's assist is, it's when you make a play happen without actually touching the ball or making the assist itself. It's all about spacing, it's about timing, it's about knowing where to be, how to draw a player out, okay, and creating an opportunity for another player to score a basket. Z did that throughout the season all the time, and his IQ for the game just presented itself on the court in those moments, and that's exactly why he gets that award, because once everything else comes together for him, he will be an offensive force. So now we're going to transition to the defensive side. And this one, this was a tough one right here too, because this guy showed a lot of character throughout the year. He showed a lot of discipline, and he came off the bench. But when he came off the bench, he played as if he was a starter, or he should have been a starter. He showed that grit that he wanted to be out there, even if he was out there for a minute or if he was out there for the whole game. He played 110% in games, in practice, in warm-ups, no matter what. He was dialed in, and that goes to Trent. He was just a ball hawk. He would get every rebound, even though he was the smallest kid on the court. He would challenge anyone, no matter the size or the physical capabilities of the other person. And that right there, you really can't teach. That's part of defense that you have to just want, and you can't teach that as a coach. And that's some of the toughest things that we see. But when you have a player on your team that can do that, you have to award him for that. So Trent, good job. Z, good job on the offense and the defensive side. We'll go to the coaches award next. This, I think, hands down, I'll give you guys an example of why this was such an easy one for me. There was a point in the season when we would do drills, and when players lost the drills, for instance, when we would do scrimmaging and we would, play to 5, the team that lost would have to run. The first time we did this, the player that won ended up running with the losing team, and he was the only person from his team to join that losing team and run. And I didn't have to say that. I didn't have to tell him to do that. He wanted to run with his teammates. He wanted to be disciplined, and he wanted to show them that no matter what, I have your back. I'll do anything to support you guys, even in the battles and in the practices. And he always made eye contact with me. He was coachable throughout the entire year. And that's Sean. He was our starting point guard, and he just was just amazing throughout the year. Even though there was a part of it where I think he missed 4 to 5 games. On the bench, he was vocal, okay, and then in practice, he was just in tune all the time, and he made the guys around him better, and he showed that with character as much as his ability to play the game of basketball, and that you just have to tip your hat off to. So, Sean, good job of just being so coachable and a great person on and off the court at all times and presenting yourself well. So, for the most anticipated award, we're going to go to the MVP. At the end of the day, this was my first year coaching, and honestly, all you guys are MVPs in my book. I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory. I think we had a great year all around, and I think you guys all made yourselves better players, and you should see yourself as MVP because you guys are all great people in general. But this person was not only a captain, but he was probably our best offensive player at the time, and he was our best defensive player at the time. And the reason I say it like that is because whenever we needed a certain type of player, he was able to fill that role. And someone that can do all of those things at all times or at any moment of the game, that's very crucial, and that's very hard to find. He was just a well-represented person. I mean, he just well-rounded all around. And that's Max. I mean, you can see it on the court, you can see it off the court, the way he carries himself, and the confidence that he started to develop throughout the season is self-explanatory. I mean, he had a game winner right before we went into the playoffs, and that was huge. And they started calling him Big Shot Max. So it's time to give the Big Shot Max the MVP award. So good job, Max. Well deserved.
Nice.
And everyone else just good job all season. And I can't wait to see what this offseason entitles for all of us. And I hope that you guys can all, foresee yourself in the future of this program, and your goal should be able to make JV and varsity next year. So really, offseason starts now. Okay, so let's work hard, guys.
Nice. Good job, Coach Zenni.
Good job.
Those are all really good choices. These decisions are hard to make, but I like what you did there. That's good stuff. And congratulate the freshman team on a good season. So good stuff there.
Absolutely.
Let's move to the JV level and Coach Scott Dunlop. And I'd like to introduce Scott and say a couple things about him before we get going here. Coach Dunlop, I should say, has been so helpful, willing, and available for this JV coaching job. He obviously brings a ton of experience from soccer and at Concord High School. And so it was really neat to see him apply the philosophies and some of the tendencies from the pitch and kind of apply those to the basketball court. It was neat to see him work through some of that stuff. And I just want to say how much I totally appreciate him kind of stepping up and helping in this role, and kind of providing his expertise there. Just the knowledge, being a coach at the school previously and for a number of years gave him this wealth of knowledge that I was able to access a lot, and I had to. So just like knowledge of the protocols and the right thing to do at the right time was so very helpful. And a lot of us, not being at the school and not ever coaching in the program, the other four of us, we didn't have that. So it was really nice to be able to access Scott for those things, and we always just felt comfortable, knowing what he brought to the table, and just want to say how valuable that was. And just for him to kind of jump into a new sport, I think we should mention like the bravery and courage that takes. Having expertise in one section, it's easy for someone to kind of stay in their lane and continue doing what they do. But I totally appreciate someone like consistently trying to learn new things and putting themselves out there. It takes a lot of courage and bravery. So I just wanted to say thank you to Coach Dunlop. Enjoyed watching you guys this season. So let me pass it on to you, Coach.
Well, thank you, Coach Thorpe. I appreciate those words that you just spoke about myself. I want to thank you for your leadership and guidance, coming in, at the last moment to take over the program. From what I've experienced with you, I think that Concord High basketball is on the right track, and I can only see good things going forward from here, from what you brought this season and your vision for what you have for the program. I'd like to thank the other coaches as well. Coach Zenni helping at the end of the year was great when I was out sick. I really appreciate that. It was insurmountable, the amount of time you gave to us the last few weeks with some of the freshman players as well. Definitely helped us. Coach Faber, your wit and your relationships with some of the young men at all three levels was great. I could really see, how much they value you and what you bring to the table. And Coach Bankston, your organizational skills and kind of operational things for the program with huddle and everything else is great to have those resources for coaches to go back and look at and help them plan for practice and games. So you guys all brought, valuable things to the program this year.
Amen.
You're welcome. There's one other person I'd like to thank is Coach Ben Vanu, the JV assistant coach. He's not on here today. He played for me in soccer about 10 years ago. Came on, wanted to coach basketball as well, and he brought a lot to the table. He did a lot of things that people probably didn't realize with helping planning practice, helping keeping the guys organized, supervising them when I may have been helping the varsity during varsity games and things like that. So he did a lot of things behind the scenes, and he gets a big thank you from me, and he really brings a lot to the program. And he's someone who played basketball at Concord High, so he had some things invested in it. So I really appreciate everything he did for us. The season for us, we had some struggles, especially with some injuries and sickness. We didn't really have 12 guys right from the beginning of the season. We started with like 10, and then we went down to 8 at one point. And we were actually one day, I remember texting Coach Thorpe saying, I have 5 guys tonight for a game. And I'm like, hey, we need to rally here and get some guys. We had a couple of guys come down from varsity to help, as well as guys from the freshman team. So we had a lot of challenges through the course of the year with injuries and sickness and other things. And we all rallied together and fought through those things. And the biggest thing I can say about the season, these guys worked hard. We really were able to, go 5v5 during practice very often the last 2 months of the season. A lot of things were, 3v3 or 4v4. So we had to, get really creative and really be resourceful in what we did for practice and preparing for, the next game. So, but we finished the season off very well. Thing that I'm proud of is that we won 3 out of our last 5 games. and beat 2 teams who we had lost to previously. So, I see that as progress. I see that as, making gains in our play, just as individuals and as a team. So it must have been very rewarding for these guys to, win that first round playoff game in the JV tournament, which I wasn't at because I was sick, with Coach Zenni and Coach Benvenu. I was receiving text messages from Coach Benston the entire time, laying on the couch, and I was ecstatic about these guys beating a team who they had lost to earlier in the season. So we finished the season, the way we wanted to. And it isn't always how you start, it's usually how you finish. And that we saw progress and growth and development from day one until the end. So I really appreciate that. For our awards, our most offensive player award goes to a young man who really led us from his spot shooting, his ability to drive to the hole, and his ability to get out in the fast break and score points for us. He had a really knack for getting to the bucket and making things happen and just putting the ball in the net for us. And that goes to Gume. He was our most offensive player this season.
Gume.
Yeah. Our most defensive award goes to a young man who never, in my opinion, never took a practice off, never took a play off, always gave 100%, would be exhausted, dripping with sweat after every game, every practice. And he just leave it on the court the entire time. He's very coachable, just a great young man, and he really just gave every bit he had during practice and games, and that goes to Liam. Our coach's award goes to a young man another man who put everything out on the court. I think he played every position at one point for us because of the injuries and lack of guys we had at times during games. I remember putting him at center one day, and I was like, wow, he's our center today. I was surprised at that. But he did it. He was very willing, very coachable, and did whatever we asked. And he could have received the defensive award as well. And he really improved the end of the year, and he was blocking a lot of shots. And people would recognize, wow, he's really, playing better defensively, not just in practice, but in games. He's blocking a lot of shots. Clearly for us, and that goes to Andrew Benston. He was a very young, fine man who did everything for us that we needed to during the course of the season. Our MVP could have gone to a couple of different guys, but this young man wore his emotions on his sleeve. He did a lot of scoring for us. He did everything for us off and on the court. He was a captain. He really put everything out there on the line for us, and it was really competitive. And I think the team looked to him when we were struggling at times to make sure we had offense going, or he had to go do something different for us out, whether it was breaking a press or, maybe defend someone else that he normally wouldn't be defending. And our MVP for this season goes to Anthony Brock. So those are our 4 awards for the JV boys basketball team. It could have gone to numerous number of individuals. Each guy gave everything they had. I was very pleased with how they showed character and through the adversity of what we went through this year with having limited numbers, and guys really stepping up and showing, what kind of young men they are. And the future looks very bright for Concord High basketball.
Nicely said, Coach Dunlop, and those are all great choices. Good job.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
congratulations to the JV team on a good season. That was fun to watch.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move to the varsity level, and we're going to do it a little bit differently with the varsity level. We'll take up a little bit more time per player, and we'll be able to talk about each player individually. Just wanted to kind of highlight each player on the varsity team for being at that level and talk about a little bit of what they brought to the table. So we're going to break it up as coaches. I'll go to Coach Bankston first. He's going to talk about some players. Then we'll go to Coach Faber, and then I'll end with a couple players myself. So let me talk about Coach Bankston really quick. I think Coach Dunlop touched on a couple of his good traits with his operational understanding and analytical thinking, but then also just like a ton of caring for all the players and the kids in the program. So just wanted to appreciate that and what he brought to the table there. I also wrote down how Coach Bankston has a deep understanding of how institutions like a program or a team or a school can be positive contributors in the community. And having that kind of large scale thinking approach certainly helped in developing, our strategies and our approach to the team. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Coach Bankston for that. That was really nice to have in the program. And then Coach Bankston also has 2 kids in the program, which to me was crazy because I literally forgot that he was the parent of the 2 kids in the program at times. And I had to remind myself, because you can consider all of the challenges that come along with that. And I would say Coach Bankston did an awesome job at just being able to separate the parent from the coach, wearing the 2 different hats and being able to balance those. And that was just amazing to see. We talked about it early in the season of how it might be a challenge, and Coach Bankston was like, "No, it's not going to be a challenge for me." And I was like, "Okay, but it could be." and it wasn't at all. And so just want to say, really good job with that. I don't know, I wouldn't be able to do that. So really good job. Let me pass it off to you, Coach Bankston.
Yeah. Thanks, Coach Thorpe. Yeah, and I appreciate the opportunity to coach. I know we've talked about this. I've been out of coaching basketball at this level for almost 20 years, it seems like, since I was right out of college, and was really looking for an opportunity to get involved in some way. And so I appreciate you giving me the chance to be a part of the program and to invest myself in that way and to learn and to grow. I know it's stretched me in a lot of ways this season to improve myself, and I appreciate you and the other coaches, being a part of that to push me and to help me, grow as an individual in this too. So thanks to each one of you. But yeah, so on to the players. This isn't the show just for us coaches to appreciate each other. We can appreciate you players too, even if we can't see you right now, which is tough. I do have that gap and feel that hole that was filling so much of my life and my heart for the past several months. It feels weird. I'm sure each of you went through that too, when not only the season got cut off, but everything else got cut off too. So it was cool to be able to just kind of sit back about a week and a half ago and just reflect through the season a little bit, write out some stuff, think about each player and what I admire about each one of you. And then as coaches, we kind of split up to be able to speak about a few of you for each of us. So I'm going to start with Hamza. And Hamza, I really, you bring a lot to our team. You brought a lot to our team this season on the court and off the court. A couple of things that I'll start saying I admire about you reflect themselves in the way you play, but really about how you handled yourself as a captain on this team, and how you showed heart and effort consistently every single day. And I remember one time you talking about that, one of those tough practices we had, and afterwards you said, I remember our football coach when I was younger telling me, you see those other guys out there, they're not taking a break, some of the older players. And you modeled that as an older player for all the guys on the team, that heart and that effort consistently all the way through. And the other thing I appreciated about you was your kindness. You just have a really kind heart, and you care about people. And even while you might push on guys to work harder, you did it with just a lot of love and care. And so I appreciate seeing that in you. I think as a captain, those are important qualities that you carried for our team. Besides the fact that on the court, you were always a hustler, always working hard, going after those rebounds, even when you'd miss a shot, going after your own rebounds and then putting that ball back up there. Your defensive help, taking on a position as center, even though you're shorter than most centers we'd face over the course of the season. Love seeing you step up to that challenge, and loved having the chance to coach you this season. Next player up is Q. And so Q, what I appreciate about you is that you were never satisfied with where you were. Always wanted to improve, and saw that in a lot of ways. Coming in as a freshman into this program, that could be intimidating, and that's a big step up. And I think you experienced a little bit of that challenge, but you were always up for it. Loved seeing the improvement that you had over the course of the season. We challenged you to think of yourself as more than just a three-point shooter. We needed you to hit those threes, but we also needed you to step in, to play tough and to go to the hoop. And I loved a couple of those rebounds towards the end of the season offensively that you just like went after it and you used your leaping ability, which we all saw at the beginning of the season at the vertical jump, to grab those boards and go for it. And so really looking forward to seeing you improve and grow over the season. And I'd say the hard work you put in, you were always one of the first players on the court and one of the last players to leave. And that not only helps you, but it stretches other players because they see that too. And that putting in that work makes a difference. So appreciate you and admire those things that you contributed to our team. Next up is Chris. And Chris, I know there were some challenges you had during the season with sickness and kind of staying healthy, and you just fought through those things. And what I saw in you was a deep intensity and a desire for more. You were always looking for what was next. You were always looking for a challenge. You were always looking. Sometimes that would express itself in frustration, and anger. And initially, when I'd see that at the beginning of the season, I thought you were lashing out at other people. But what I discovered was a lot of times that was just your internal drive pushing you to be better. And so whenever we needed a defender out there who would bring that intensity, as coaches, we talk about that. We're like, oh, who can we stick on this guy? Well, we know we've got Chris. You were that guy we knew we could trust for intensity, particularly on the defensive end. But you filled in that role, and we need you to be a ball handler and to look to set your teammates up too. You hit some big shots for us along the way also. And so just all around, loved seeing those things in you, appreciate you, admire you for that. And again, some of the times I think back then, you're only a sophomore. You got more years to go, and so it's going to be exciting to continue to see you grow. Next up is Diego. And Diego, a couple of things I really admire and appreciate about you. You came into this season and at tryouts, you just put it all out there. You put it all out there and you gave an effort that got you that spot on the team. And I know while it didn't translate necessarily all season long into a lot of minutes on the court during games, it never stopped you from putting in that effort during practice, asking coaches, how can I improve? How can I get better? And we saw that. We saw that effort. We saw that desire. And I think one of the things I appreciated about you was your positivity in the midst of it all. There are other guys who are faced with that would probably start to get pretty negative, maybe even resentful. But you were always a cheerleader on the bench, always leading the bench. And when those big threes were hit, jumping up and cheering for the guys or getting the other guys going on the bench. And so that positivity was really important for our team, for us to be family. And the other part you contributed to that too, I just see you as a really good friend. There are so many people who know you and love you. You see that on the team, but you also see that just the fans, the people who show up for the game, see you around school, just the admiration people have for you and the way that you connect with so many people was a really positive thing for our team and for our community overall. Last up for me is Gage, and so Gage, I know there were struggles throughout this season. It seemed like every time we kind of get through over one hurdle, there'd be something else that came. With starting out the season with an injury, and then sickness, and these other things that kind of came up that stalled out the season for you. And right from the very start, what we saw in you as coaches was this tenacity and this desire, this intensity that you understood. Some of that comes naturally, and some of that comes just from I think what you've been coached in other sports over the years. But just to kind of put in that level of intensity of hard work, and so we needed that modeled for our other players. It was like, look at Gage, like he doesn't take a play off. He doesn't set back for a moment. And we knew when you went out on that court, you were going to go 110% and 110 miles per hour. And even in those early moments of the season where you didn't necessarily even know the plays always, you kind of get stuck a little bit. We knew you weren't going to stop moving. And sometimes that's even more important than anything else. And so your ability to rebound, to some great assists in the season too, setting other guys up, and just the level of work you put in on defense all season long. Appreciate you pushing through that adversity and sticking with it, and being a part of the team and the family all the way through. So those are my 5 guys. Appreciate you all. I could go on and take the rest, but I'll let one of the other coaches take a turn too.
Nice, Coach Banks, and those are some nice sentiments there. Can I ask you? I think you have one player with receiving an award. Are you able to present that?
Yeah, I guess I could do that.
All right.
Sorry, I forgot that part. I didn't have it written down.
That's okay.
Yeah, so one of the awards is the Coaches Award, and the Coaches Award is really sort of a free shot for coaches to decide, what they want the criteria to be, and everything I described about this person is exactly what you'd want as a coach to have, to stabilize a team, to support a team, to build a family and a program like we were trying to do, and what we felt like we were a part of. And so our Coaches Award goes to Hamza Abdurrahman.
Hamza. All right. Very well done. Thank you, Coach Bankston. All right, moving on. We're going to pass the buck here to our other assistant coach, Coach Faber. And before I let him speak, just want to say a couple things about him. Simply put, Coach Faber is the most passionate and caring person I know. His knowledge of humans and relationships is something that I tried to learn from along the way. And to think that he was kind of an add-on to this coaching team that we already had is kind of laughable, because I think we have the best. I say we have the best coaching staff in the country or the state, whatever. But to think that Coach Faber was an add-on, and just a little story with that. Coach Bankston joined into the program, and he texted me and said, I might know someone that could be another assistant coach in this program. And so then I was like, all right, who's this guy? So Coach Faber and I met for coffee at Gibson's bookstore. It was a big interview for me to see if he was good enough to be here. And it was just like so clear, so evident. And like I said, it's laughable that he's an add-on, because he is, the best at what he does. And there were times at practice. I remember one other example is I was talking to one of our guys on the sideline, and we were talking about some things going on off the court. And I kind of hit a wall where I didn't know where else I could go. And, I tried to provide some care and show some heart and some love to this player in this situation. But I kind of hit a wall, and I didn't know where else to go with it, how to help this player through. And then I walked away, and Coach Faber came over, and I saw him sit down with this player and talk to him for a good length. And then I connected with Coach Faber after, and I was like, what'd you do there? And he told me all the stuff that he was able to get through with that player. So it's that kind of stuff there, those relationships, the bonding that was built over the time, and to be able to kind of get through those walls with people, players and coaches in the program here. Just want to say how refreshing that was. What a learning experience it was for me to work with Coach Faber, and hopefully I can take some of the knowledge that he has and apply it to future teams. So Coach Faber, so happy to have you in the program. Thank you for being here, and if you could talk about some of the guys, that'd be great.
Absolutely. Thank you, Coach. Those are kind words. And just a quick thing. I mean, we don't have the opportunity to do that as coaches, Ryan, all of us, if it's not for your leadership in the first place. So thank you for that. Guys, I could go on at length for a long time about the 4 guys that I got. I adore you guys. I adore all our players. I think it would be awesome just to sit here and take hours just to point out all the things that we see in you guys, all the amazing gifts and skills, talents, passion that we see in you guys. But alas, I have to try and keep this rather short. So I'm going to get right into it. And I'm going to start with Ivan Yen. Ivan, you're going to get our Offensive Player of the Year award. And I think it's well-deserved in a multitude of ways. I think the way that you showed yourself on the court as a scorer, obviously from beyond the arc, you could shoot from anywhere, and everybody knew that. Every team knew that. Everybody on our team knew that. Everybody in our stands and in other team stands knew that. And you could see it when you would throw up a shot from places where sometimes we were wondering, what are you doing there? Next thing we know, it would go in. And as the season went on, we learned to just, allow you to have some of those. And I think that speaks volumes to you as a player, finding that balance between confidence and working within a system. Your ability to take those moments. And I think you especially grew towards the end of the season of recognizing when are those opportunities for you to take those shots and when are those opportunities for you to pass those up and give other guys opportunities to get into the offense. I thought another wonderful thing that I saw in you, Ivan, was your leadership. When we started early on in the season, you and I spoke at length, multiple times. Just at different things that we as coaches, all three of us saw in you and that I saw in you and that you saw in yourself. And as you learn to just kind of control that, learn that, how to express those things, it was a joy to watch you grow. It was a joy to watch you push yourself as a sophomore, preparing to lead. A lot of times that starts in players' junior years, and you really started to step into that. And I think it really showed. It really showed in the practice court. When we're practicing, the way that you would push players. Sometimes you'd have to learn to get yourself in line because sometimes you could be overbearing. And as you learned how to communicate that with different guys, it was a pleasure to watch you grow and grow as a player, as a leader, but also as a friend towards these guys. As you learn to kind of recognize, other players' perspectives and then apply leadership in great ways. And so that was just a pleasure to watch, Ivan. And then lastly, it's your will to win. It was that desire you had in moments in practice, when it became a competition, when you were like, okay, now it's time to go. When things became a competition, you'd step up, you'd play. It was in a game. Early on, you felt like it was you just taking it all. But later on in the season, you realize you have moments for you to score, but it was your presence, whether you were on the court or on the bench. You realize that your presence was the main source of your leadership and one of the most valuable things that you could give us. And I'm so excited, Ivan, just to see where you grow and to see what you become in your next 2 years here at Concord High in the basketball program. So keep going, man. Second player, Tyler Clark-Coy. You, Tyler, get the Defensive Player of the Year award, also for a multitude of reasons. Tyler, we felt even I think even within our first game, when we had to start matching up against their best players, it was clear to us our main go-to was going to be Tyler. And all season long, we put you up against the best of the best on the other teams. And you showed up. You had a mentality, Tyler, that basically you could rise to any occasion. You could rise to any occasion defensively and even offensively. You would look and you'd find your man. And when you were in that mental state that you wanted to shut somebody down, you did it. You just had that tenacity. And even offensively, you towards the end of the season with your mid-range jumper, a couple of those spins and those fadeaway mid-range, sometimes as coaches, we call you out on that and, hey, we want smarter shots. But when you hit those, what can we do? And it was a pleasure to watch you rise to those occasions. So that's one of the notes that I really thought of, Tyler, when I thought of you, especially defensively, but just in general, you rose to any occasion that was put in front of you. Another thing I saw in you, Tyler, was your natural basketball IQ and talent. I can't tell you, there were so many people that I would talk to about the team who maybe came and caught a game or saw you in practice or saw the team, and they would just comment and, Tyler, he's such a basketball player, and they'd see your build and your mentality, your athleticism, your skill, your speed. And you wear basketball on your shoulders. And I love that. That's so awesome. Because it really translates in our practices, in our games. It really seems that you can do anything on the court. And that is awesome. I'm so excited to see what direction you choose to take that, how far you you want to bring that, because I really believe the sky is the limit for you, Tyler. Obviously, defensively, offensively, your leadership as well. You started to really push yourself towards the end of the season. I can't wait to watch. I can't wait to be a part and see just how far you want to take that, because it really is. It's on you. You can go anywhere with it. So keep it up. Next, we have Logan Otto. Logan, I put down as just a little piece of a note to lead into you. Senior cornerstone. I felt for you, Logan, that you could step into any situation that we needed you to step into. All season long, coaches, you're all with me. We have been trying to get people to take charges all season long, and we got a highlight reel of Logan, and it's just every game he comes in, it's like first thing, boom, he takes a charge every single time. And then if you watch those highlight reels and you watch the coaches on the sideline, he goes in, he takes a charge, and you see us, we're all looking at each other, like there he is again. Logan, you were always there. You were always dedicated. You were always giving your best. You were always ready to play, and you were always ready to assist. That takes a certain type of player, of leader, to be willing to allow others to step forward, and not just sit back and do nothing. You would still find ways to put your value. When you got that call to go in, you would immediately go in and make your presence known in that game. And that is just incredibly valuable. And just not to mention your own mentality and your own personality with us as this constant source of just positivity, this constant source. You were always prepared for whatever we brought to our practice, to our games. And you never faltered. We never saw you flipping out. We never saw you super down. You were always ready. You were always even keel and prepared. And I just think, I love that about you, Logan. I love that you were prepared in those ways, because not every player, I certainly myself, as I played, I was never that. I could never be that. I could never make it to that spot. And you absolutely are that player. And yeah, I just got to say it again. You're a charge monster. You're just an absolute charge monster. You'd come in and you could pull a charge out on anybody. And for a team that needed dudes that took charges, you're the guy. So thank you, Logan. Thank you so much for what you give the program, and for being here for us and for our team. So lastly, Rylan Canabano. I think this one's clear. Rylan, you are getting our most valuable player of the year. And I don't think there's a player, coach, or student in the organization that didn't see this one coming. And that's not an overstatement. Everybody recognizes you, Rylan. And the way that you carry yourself, knowing that, is, I think, why it is so impressive. Rylan, you have led this team. You've played on this team for 4 years. You show effort and perseverance in ways that I'm still working on in my own life when it comes to for you in the game of basketball. And you never let that desire, that leadership get to your head. You're one of the most even keel, prepared leaders I've ever seen. You and Hamza together was just, I've talked to both of you about this. We've talked as a team about this. Coaches, we've talked about this. Both of you were just incredible, and just unlike many young men your age, without a doubt. It was a pleasure to watch you, Rylan, grow as a young man, as you learned how to push your leadership skills, as you learned to use your ability to play to help translate into that leadership, but then just your love and care for these guys off the court. How many times, have we seen Rylan, his whole car stocked with people, because he's the guy that everybody knows they can trust, whether it's literally trust to get them to practice physically, or it's trust with those conversations that happen in that car. You know what I mean? Trust with those conversations that happen in school when you guys are together, parked at home, waiting to go, just talking about life. Rylan, you were the guy that guys could go to. And we as coaches saw that in you. I think that's an impressive gift. And as much as we love the game of basketball, as much as the game of basketball is a blessing, It is an opportunity, and that could be taken for many, many years. I mean, even us as coaches, it's that gifting that you have that extends far beyond this game. Yeah, Rylan, I can't wait to see you continue to grow as you venture on to new things in college. I can't wait to hear stories about how people turn to you because they feel like they can rely on you, because I guarantee you that will happen. So be prepared. Lastly, just for the game of basketball, Rylan, you're a basketball savant. It was such a pleasure. We're sitting there in huddles. You would chime in. You would coach the team. You were available in our practices. You could move and you could strive and push players in areas that you recognized that they needed to grow. You would come to us and ask us questions. How can I improve in this area? And not just, hey, what do I need to do in this way, but advanced, tactics. What can we do? How can I recognize? How can I see the court when I'm driving? You have a love for the game. You have a mind for the game. All around, Rylan, the MVP is clear. We all as coaches just found it just a wonderful blessing to have the opportunity to know you and coach you this year, as with every one of our players, but you especially, just in the way that, you carried yourself. It was a pleasure, man. It was an absolute pleasure. So those are my 4. I wish I could go on about these 4, and I wish I could go on about all our players. I really, really wish I could, but I'm going to have to hand it back to Coach.
Thank you, Coach Faber. That was really well done, and all good choices there. Because of this, virtual awards banquet and probably some miscommunication on my part, I had you down for speaking about Nate, and I'm happy to do that. But I think you could probably do a better job than me at it. Are you able to speak about Nate as a player too?
You never have to ask me twice to talk about Nate.
I figured.
Sorry about that.
Thanks, brother.
No problem. Nate Bankston. Oh my gosh. Nate, you are an incredible young man. I've known you well before I was a coach here at Concord High, and stepping in onto this team as an assistant and getting to watch you in a different setting was such a wonderful thing. All of us know, Nate, you have a heart the size of the earth. You have a heart that I haven't seen in really any high schooler your age. You have a care and a joy for life, but more importantly for your family, the basketball team. That is just so impressive to watch. I loved your mind for the game. You could see things happening on the basketball court. You processed the game in incredible ways. You could understand your own abilities and how to apply them. Even knowing your own cap. You know where you could go and when you need to step back and let somebody step in. It's incredible. It's incredible your awareness of your own ability and your own positioning. I think that's early signs of some coaching that you have in you, some gifts for that, some early signs of leadership and knowledge towards whatever field it may be. In this case, clearly basketball, but it also shows just your heart. You have a heart for people. You have a heart for this game. You give your best, and it's clear. You would show up in practices and you would work so hard every single day. You worked so hard to listen and to hear all of the players, all your teammates. And then in games, you would challenge yourself. You were put in, as our lone real big man. You would have to go in against the big man across all the league. And, sometimes it would be tough for you, especially stepping into, this varsity level and the physicality, but your mentality and your wit and your smarts for the game would win you battles. And I haven't seen a player's wit and just pure knowledge for the game be so potent at times. I haven't seen that in many players. And I can't wait to see Nate, as you continue to grow, as you continue to push your body, as you continue to push your skills as a basketball player. I can't wait to see you continue to challenge yourself as you approach your senior year, as we approach the time where we're going to need you to be that big man and stepping into that. Nate, you're dedicated to the team. You were there. You were, one of our guys that we thought about, even for just as we think about coaches awards and people that are coachable and available. You were absolutely a part of that conversation. And I think it's clear. I think it's clear with the way that you carry yourself, the way that you push yourself, and that the way that you treat others, other players, our team, and others. So well done. Well done, Nate. It was a pleasure being a coach of yours, and I can't wait to see more of you as you grow.
Very nice, Coach Faber. Thank you. Thanks for filling in there.
Absolutely.
And some really good stuff about Nate. All right, so I have three players to talk about. But before I get to those three players, I want to talk about our manager. And that is Al Rashid Coco, better known as Cuckoo. So really happy to talk about Cuckoo. He was our team manager, and he actually would have been a valuable player for our team in the skill that he has on the basketball court. But unfortunately, he was ineligible to play based on his time in high school. So Cuckoo took care of some of the managerial roles and tasks for our team. But that was really less important to us as coaches for him to do that stuff. And honestly, our coaching staff was able to effectively take care of a lot of that stuff. What we found really significant with what Cuckoo brought to the table was player relations. And it was as simple as just having Cuckoo there with the other guys. Brought an element to our team, brought the family element to our team that just the players wouldn't have been able to create. So his positivity, his smile, his conversations with the guys on the sidelines during practice, and his willingness to just be there as a member of this team were so refreshing. And it was really great to watch him grow as a communicator. And just as a person that kind of helps the group in any way that he can. So I felt so fortunate. It was a pleasure to have Cuckoo. I wish I could have used him as a player, but you know what? Looking back, it was a benefit for all of us to have him as a non-player, and I really appreciate that, what he brought to the table. All right, so let me move at. There are three players left, and I'm excited to talk about these guys. Let me start with Regis. In Latin, Regis means of the king. And we did a name activity earlier on in the season, and Regis was telling me this a little bit, and I found it really interesting in connection with how Regis carries himself. And you can see the root word for Regis, R-E-G, also connects with the word regal. And you can see how it kind of applies to Reggie if you think about how he did carry himself. He has that integrity and that kind of quietness that he walks around with, and that was evident and that we appreciated. And with being quiet came this kind of attention that I think he would get, because everything that he did say certainly had weight and had significance. He didn't say a lot, but everything he said was important. So every time he spoke, I certainly listened. But outside of that, he was always there with his energy, his basketball skill on the court. He brought it to practice, and what he could contribute in the games as well. So that was really nice to see. But just kind of the other sides of Reggie that I wish I could explore more, and that we will be doing next year, because we see him as stepping up into more of a leadership role next year. We want to kind of see those other sides of him. Reggie is very creative, and he's an artist, and he's actually a barber and cuts people's hair. So that's another skill that he kind of brings. And you think about that connection when you have someone in a barber chair, you're actually physically touching them, physically working on them, and then emotionally, mentally, you're connecting with them as well. So I see a lot of sides of Regis that are so valuable on and off the court, and I look forward to working with him more next year. So thanks, Reggie. All right, 2 more players left. The next player is Jello. So this is going to be fun talking about Jello. This guy is fun-loving, positive. He's always smiling. And outside of that, he's a really talented basketball player. For whatever reason, whether it was the team dynamics or the style of play, I don't think Angelo's talents actually were able to translate and reach their full potential in some of the games. But we saw as coaches, the actual skill and talent that he has on the court was amazing. It might have been, it was some of the best on our team. But him being positive and always having that smile when he came into practice, you could certainly feel the energy change. And it was just, when you have someone like that in the program or in your team, it kind of takes a weight off of everything. It takes the importance and the rigidity out of everything, and I certainly appreciate that. I think some people would see Angelo on this team, and they might label him as kind of like a class clown, but you can't say that at all. It's actually a valuable and a necessary component for like breaking the ice and for comic relief. So we really appreciated that. Along with that, when someone has that kind of personality, they can also be judged as like someone who is checked out or someone who is unskilled. But I would say that Jello is very tuned in and very intelligent individual. He has some entrepreneurial mindset and tendencies. So I'm anxious to see what he's going to do moving into the future, whether it's college or going into his own business. I see a lot of good things coming there. But yeah, just his kind of intelligence and me always wondering what is he thinking? What else can he bring to the table? I see a lot of potential for you, Jello, and it was a pleasure working with you, and I really hope the best for you. I want to bring up this story once more about the sneakers, where someone on our team needed sneakers because their old sneakers were just beat up and were not like functional anymore at all for basketball sneakers. And Jello stepped up and said, "I'll buy him some sneakers." And we as coaches said, "Well, no, we'll pay for them if you want to order them. We'll take care of it." And Jello said, "No, I got it. No big deal." And he didn't want credit for it. He didn't talk about it a lot. He just took it upon himself to do that. And I was thinking, I don't think a lot of players, I don't know of any other player that would do that. Spend over $100 on a friend, on a teammate, just simply get them something that they need. And that is such a valuable trait. That is such character that I haven't seen in anyone else that I've coached. So I wanted to give Jello a lot of props for that. Really respect that and everything you brought to the table. So thanks, Jello. All right, moving on to the last player to speak about, and that is Mick Leahy. Mick, it was nice as the season progressed. On the court, you were called upon more and more, whether it was injuries that were happening to other people or whatever other circumstances. We had to call on Mick more and more. And it was nice as coaches that we could kind of rely on what he brought to the table. His consistency and his foundation for what he could bring on the court was just something that was nice to rely on, so that we knew what we were getting when we called upon Mick. And then on top of that consistency, in the games and with what he brought, I have to speak about Mick's dedication to this program and the team. Near the end of the season, I saw a Facebook post about Mick, speaking about when he was really young, he wanted so badly to be part of the Concord High varsity basketball program. And so he talked to the current coach at the time, whether his parents helped him with that, I'm not sure, but he was able to work himself into a water boy position for the varsity basketball team at Concord High School as a young kid. I'm not sure his age, but I just saw this in a Facebook post, and it made me really cherish the fact that Mick was able to work from that. He had this little dream at such a young age and was able to be the water boy for the team, and then such a passion to just be part of the program. So for someone to work hard and then work their way onto actually being on the team was so nice to see, and really happy about that. Also, near the end of the season, I had this thought in my head, and because Mick isn't that loud of a character, he had been showing up, and he's a little bit under the radar. But in my head, I was thinking, I don't think Mick has missed a practice or a game. And then I kind of bounced it off Coach Faber and Coach Bankston. I said, I don't think he's been late to anything, to any practice, any game or anything. And then I considered all of our activities that we did on top of practices and games, which were things like we held our combine, we went to hot yoga, we went to jujitsu, we did team dinners. What am I missing here? Anything else?
That's a lot of it. We had a bunch of events like at school as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we had like a team lunch at school, and I kept thinking that Mick has not missed a thing. So then I kind of reached out through messaging last week and to ask Mick if that was the truth, and I just wanted to really commend him on that. He was not late, did not miss a thing for the entire season, and an old school way to think about this is kind of perfect attendance, or when you're in elementary school, you try to get that perfect attendance, and that may sound a little trivial, but the weight of this and the significance of the dedication for someone to do that, 99% of people can't do that. They just can't. I had to leave practice early to go get my daughter one practice. I missed a couple little things, and Mick was there for every single thing, and he was on time and early for every single thing. That matters so much, and that translates to the real world. To be able to do that is such a feat in itself, and I just want to really appreciate Mick for that. So good job, Mick. Keep it up, and keep applying that into other aspects of your life. That's it. That's all I got. So coaches, before we take off, any final words?
Yeah, can I say one real quick, please?
Yes, sir.
It was funny that Homs won the coaches award, because the kind of surreal moment, especially since we're talking about the varsity mainly right now, that happened at the end of the year. I think it was the Goffstown game. I believe Ivan didn't end up playing that game, and he was getting a lot of backlash throughout that game the entire time, because that was a pretty intense game for the seniors especially. And I just remember at the end of the game, it was a beautiful moment, even though not saying it was beautiful that we lost that game. It was a beautiful moment because I remember Homs took a minute after you had finished talking, Coach, and kind of just pointed out to Ivan, and he apologized to Ivan, saying, hey, I'm sorry for, yelling at you or saying whatever I said to you in the beginning of this game, but I only did it because I care about you as not only a player, but as a friend. And I just wanted to remind you that we needed you out there. The only reason I say that is because I just want to make sure that that message for the guys that seen that in the locker room, you continue that with the program next year. So you juniors, you sophomores, Q as a freshman, that the guys that witnessed that, bring that down and continue that to the next guys that are moving up too, and have that kind of chemistry in the locker room, and start that from the beginning of the season, okay? And let's continue to grow as a program, and I think good things will come out of that.
Yeah, very nicely said. I think, earlier on the season, we were doing some kind of pointing fingers and a lot of times when we make mistakes, we want to take the blame off of ourselves and find out, where we can put it outward. But boy, as the season went on, I think ownership was such a key element and theme that ran through, and everyone grew in the ownership department, taking it upon themselves and what can I do to help the team, and saying my bad, and then moving forward with it. So yeah, I'm glad you didn't let that go by, Coach Zenni. Thank you for saying that. Anything else from coaches?
No, I mean, I would say it was a blast. We had great organizations. We had great different teams. I thought for the six of us, including Ben, I thought having coaches, you guys were all fantastic. We had a blast, and I think a lot of the players recognized that as well. And I think it translated to every season's going to have ups and downs. Every team, whether it's freshman, JV, varsity, across any bit of the division, and so we're all going to have those moments. But I thought it was a blast. It was a blast with our coaching staff. We always pushed each other, as much as we've all had the opportunity to talk about our players. I just want to say the coaching staff that Concord High has had this year across all three teams showed some real, just some real impressive leadership and tenacity to step into a really tough season. And I was just really impressed and really thankful that I got to be a part of it. Also because it was you guys are the best, and we had a ton of fun, laughing together, fighting together, challenging ourselves and each other together. So thank you guys.
Totally agree. Thank you, Coach Faber. As far as the players and parents, I would keep an eye out. We will be trying to reach out and connect with you through email or what have you. Obviously, we can't do anything until May 4th, May 5th, and we'll get messages moving forward to see when we can get together. But of course, we would, as soon as this Corona issue passes, we'd like to get together for workouts, for open gyms, start discussing the summer league and all that kind of stuff, because we got to work on our game. And I guess I would just say on top of that, just quickly, that a lot of players around the state, around the world, will use this as an excuse of why they can't work on their game. So if individually, if you can find a way to work on your game during this time, that is what's going to set you apart from other players. When we all get back together and start playing on the court, there are going to be so many players that are a month behind not touching a basketball. Yeah. If you can find a way individually to be the one that actually uses this as a growth period, that's going to make such a difference. And I encourage you to do that. And the pride that you'll feel when you get back with a team is going to be immense. So I encourage you to do that. Keep an eye out for communication from us, and we'll get back together shortly. And of course, we all wish you the best of health and stay safe and secure during this time. Coaches, if we can get a little wave off before we go.
Yo.
Take care.
Thanks, guys. All right, take care.
Bye now.